Hey guys, welcome back to Roots and Refuge Farm. It's Jeremiah here again. Today it is not raining, and so we are busy at work outside trying to get as much done as we can before Arkansas decides to pour it out on us again. Everything's still a muddy mess, but we're just, like I said, we got our muck boots on and we're gonna keep moving. Today, right now, Jessica is up in the greenhouse working on, you guys could probably guess, planting stuff, transplanting stuff, whatever all that entails. Everything that has to do with seeds and soil and in the greenhouse stuff. So me and Ben Turn are actually in the pig yard right now working on expanding Gerard's space. So we're actually going to be tripling what we've given Gerard access to, because our initial setup, I don't feel like I've given him enough space for when he's isolated. And this actually gives him some space up on the hill, which will help him stay dry better, especially with all this rain. When we initially set it up, it was dry because we weren't in the rainy season, and so I didn't think about, oh, it's downhill, it'll get really muddy. Now, he's not complaining. He seems to like the mud, and he does have dry place to go within his, but I'm trying to be nice, and we're gonna give him some more space. But that's actually not the main thing we're working on. The main thing we're working on is the fact that I am uneducated and not good, apparently, at doing electric fences. And I've got the suspicion that there's a large majority of people doing what we do. Now, not necessarily farming, but like small scale homesteading, because I've seen other videos of people setting up electric fences and stuff, and I think that there's a lot of room to do things better. And I want to introduce you guys to somebody that has been taking time out of his busy work day to come out here and help show us what's up. So with me right now, I've got Kellen Webb, right?
That's right.
I know your first name, but I actually am not very good with last name. So Kellen Webb works for Gallagher. Now, Gallagher's based out of where?
We're originally based out of New Zealand.
Okay.
Our North American headquarters is in Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Yep.
All right, and how long have you all been doing electric fencing stuff?
80 years.
80 years. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a long time to be doing something. They've got some amazing products. They've got some stuff that makes things easier. And honestly, like, they're schooling me right now on proper electric fence assembly. Honestly, he did give me props that, I kind of like thought outside the box and solved some problems kind of creatively, which
right.
I feel like was a compliment. I don't know. It's kind of like, I'm really good at jerry rigging stuff, and so that's kind of what it was. But we made it work, but it wasn't working well, I'll tell you what. Honestly, until they got involved, my pigs were constantly breaking out of the system we had set up before. It was constantly frustrating, and since they have gotten connected with us and we've started working together, my pigs have not broken out a single time. Now, this is like next level, like fixing things up. Guys, listen, it's okay to admit that you were wrong and that you weren't doing something right. Like, just eat your pride, eat it like a shepherd's pie. And just, hey, part of this thing for us is not just to inspire and educate people, but to be educated also. And, anytime that we can absorb knowledge to better what we're doing, I'm all about it. So this is, I don't have any shame in admitting, like, hey, I was doing this wrong. Like, let's do it excellent. I love excellence. Is one of my favorite things. You can ask Jessica. She's like, let's do this thing. And I'm like, if we can't do it to excellence, I really don't want to do it. And sometimes you just do things less excellent because you don't know better. But the thing is once you know better, you do better. So I know better, we're doing better. Kellen, we're gonna go walk around and see some of the things that I had done, and then he's gonna show us I don't like saying wrong way, because I don't think that there's only one way to do things, but I do believe that there's a better way. And honestly, I feel like that applies to so many things in life. Like, it's not about right or wrong. There just might be a less superior way of accomplishing your goal. So this is the more superior way of setting up an electric fence, and we're gonna go around and just talk about the different things that we're changing. Go over the insulator thing. That was one of the issues that when you came out to the farm, you saw, hey, we can do this better.
Right, so what we had at first was some yellow insulators, which you'll see all the time. The main problem with these is they're not UV stabilized. So, it could be 6 months, maybe you get lucky and it's a year, but the sun will dry and crack these up. They'll become brittle and they'll crack right off. You can obviously see the broken pieces here. And if they don't break, they don't hold well. So what we did was go back across with some of these better insulators, the 12-inch wire offsets. So these wrap around that net wire like that. And you can pull it on, you can pull it, it's not gonna come off. And anytime your fence goes off for whatever reason, that's going to be an important feature to have. So
is the plastic on that UV stabilized?
It is. It's UV stabilized. It's going to last a whole lot longer.
Sure.
And not only that, but the metal pinches it in there so it doesn't come out.
One of the cool things I've noticed about these insulators that I think is a huge selling point, the UV stabilized plastic is cool. The fact that it gives you a 12-inch offset away from the fence, which helps keep the pigs from getting out under the fence, because I have very curly pigs, if you guys know that already. They have a lot of hair, and honestly a lot of times they're getting up underneath the wire because their furry hair is acting like it's an insulator itself and giving them the ability to get out. But with this being offset 12 inches, they're not going to be able to get up under the fence while having this touching their back. You know what I'm saying? Eventually they're going to get the electric shock that'll keep them off the fence. So another thing I noticed is when you're doing the yellow insulators, you have to have a post or something to secure to. These, to set up and to be sturdy, do not require any T-post. So this is one installed right here. As you can see, like, there's the corner, there's the T-post. This is like right in the middle, right? And it's just hooked around the fence. And I mean, you can pull it up and down, left or right. It's not going anywhere. Why that's cool is that now you don't have to rely on putting a T-post in to hold a clip to be able to insulate the wire. You can put them anywhere. I've also noticed that and learned that with these, you can space them out way further apart. Like right now, we were basically counting one insulator for every 8 feet because we're putting a T-post in every 8 feet. So what's the recommended spacing on these right here?
30 feet.
30 feet is the recommended spacing. So that comparative to how often we were having to run insulators on the T-post, which is every 8 feet, like this is going to save you a large amount of time and also in cost, because you get to space them out so far. And again, being able to put them wherever you want on the fence is a huge factor. The next big thing that I've learned that I could do better was the type of wire we were using. Now, I bought this at Tractor Supply, which is, let me just, right there. So it's just like poly braided. It looks like it's got a couple strands of stainless steel wire in there. That's the wire I bought at Tractor Supply to initially run. I chose that over a solid wire that's like essentially like a bare wire, because the only ones that were available in my area were high tensile, which were really hard to bend and work with, and I wasn't running like a permanent cattle fence. And so to me that was like not gonna work. I wanted something pliable and easy, and honestly that looked like it would do the job, so I bought it. The problem is that the pigs tore it apart, and it flexes and stretches out, and then it sags, and then it's grounding out, and then all kinds of issues. So Kellen actually came out to the property a little while ago and said, hey, we've got a solid wire that is aluminum based, that's pliable, and will do the job better than the braided stuff. All right, so talk about the aluminum wire, the solid wire we're going to be using.
Sure. So what we're using is 12.5 gauge aluminum wire.
So this is the single strand of 12 gauge aluminum. All right, so why is that superior than the braided stuff for what we're doing?
So polywire has its place. It's a fine product, but it's usually used in temporary solutions and for very short distances. The more you stretch it out and the more times you piece it together, the weaker it is as far as conductivity. So with 12.5 gauge aluminum, it's actually 4 times more conductive than high tensile steel wire. It doesn't have the breaking strength, but that also makes it a lot easier to tie and bend and put up.
This is really embarrassing, but I feel like we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that I was doing wrong, but that's okay. The next thing that I didn't know anything about, or didn't know that there was a better way, was on our corners, especially with using any kind of like solid wire that you're going to be putting some kind of tension on. They've got these really cool insulated like corner pieces.
So we've got 2 different options here. Anytime you come to a corner and you want to terminate the electricity, so you can either put a strainer like this to where you bring all your tension to this corner.
Okay.
Or you've got one like this where you just tie off and you're not putting any tension really, or you can't ratchet or tighten up the fence there.
So on something like that, you would tension at the other end.
Right, you need to use something either at the other end or in the center. If it's a short pull, you can put your tension to either side of the fence, but if it's a long pull, you need to bring the tension to the center.
Now if you were going to put your tension at the center, what would you use to put tension at the center?
So we use these inline wire tighteners. It just goes right on the wire, holds up to 12 feet of wire, and you tighten it up and you put a clip in it and you're done with it.
Sounds good. It's a good thing I packed my lunch because I'm going to school. We've still got, what, one more long run to run, and then we've got to actually electrify Gerard's pen that we just extended. So we're going to get back to work. Well, Gerard is in his expanded space, which actually butts right up against the barn that we have for all the babies. Look at all the babies. There they go. But he can't get in there, and we're actually working towards running the electric wire on this side so he doesn't try and climb over. He has actually made it over the top, So we only had electric running along the bottom, and he went over the top of these hog panels to get out and go hang out with his girls. So we actually have to run a wire across the top too, so he doesn't leap over. All right guys, we're on day 2. Yeah, that's right, day 2 of fixing Roots and Refuge electrical fence problems. We did a lot yesterday, and actually my friend Kellen came back to actually help finish even more. So if I wasn't already impressed, I'm like way more impressed now. We wanted to show you just a few more things that we were making adjustments on or improving on. One of the things that they brought with them were these gate latches. It has nothing to do with electric fences, but they have these gate latches. They said that they're really easy, people are really liking them, and so I'm going to give them a shot. I already installed one. I thought it was pretty cool. It looks like it's going to work really well. So we're going to install a second one, show you how it goes on, show you how it works, and then you guys can make a decision for yourself. I think they're pretty cool. I think we're actually going to upgrade the rest of our gates to our property with these because I honestly think that they work that well. So this is the gate latch. Now it comes with a chain that's about 10 links longer than this. I actually already cut this one to length because we're gonna essentially staple it with this staple, right? So once we staple it with the chain, and then I'll show you how this is going to latch onto the gate. Here we go, it's installed. Big old staple into the post. It's got this hook with this ring on it, and that's actually kind of one of the latching systems. So you're gonna take the hook and set it on there. So it can't go this way, can't come out, right? To unlatch it, just pull back on the ring, hit the hook, let it hang. On some of our latching systems, you know, we've used like a pole that you slide to the side and it fits inside of a hole, or it has to basically meet up. It has to be even to be able to latch. The issue you have with that, especially with farm gates, is like my kids, they don't know what a gate's for. They think it's for climbing, and so they climb over the gate sags. Once it starts missing the hole, it's not latching anymore. I think with this design, like, we'll be able to still latch the gate, and even if it starts to sag or change positions, I don't think it's really going to affect it a whole lot because you've got the chain. So as long as you don't make it too tight whenever you're mounting it, then it actually should still work. So to me, that's a great improvement. It's a cool little invention, and we're going to start applying it. One more thing to show you guys for this video. There will be more videos to come. We've got some cool announcements. We're going to talk about the shindig a little bit. But there was one more thing that, honestly, if we address it, will greatly increase the effectiveness of our Energizer and keeping the pigs in. So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. So this is the Energizer we're currently using, and we'll talk more about that later. These are the two knobs you use to hook it up. Red runs down to the fence, and the green runs down to your grounding rod. Now, I had this grounding rod already in our repurposed pile, so I went ahead and used it. Turns out that that's still not enough. Now, this is considerably more than what our previous Energizer was using, but this actually ended up not being enough. And one time I was in the kitchen, I looked out and saw that the Energizer wasn't pulsing right because it was indicating that something was wrong. I came out and I actually ended up hooking up this 212 white side house wire, which is copper, because that's actually all I had, and that seemed to fix it. But as we've been learning a lot these last 2 days, that was not the right thing to do. And so we're about to redo the grounding system for the Energizer, which should up the amps that we're getting on the fence. Now, Kellen, we tested it yesterday. We're getting like what?
Right around 7.
7. Okay, so we're gonna redo the grounding, and then we're gonna test it again and see how much it goes up. All right, so step 1 was taking the first grounding rod, and we basically hammered it down as deep as we could get it. It's probably about 4 feet down because it was actually not fully 6 feet. Then on the second one, we got it about 5 feet down, so it's about 12 inches sticking up. And what we're going to basically be doing is we're going to be setting up a daisy chain of 4 total grounding rods, spaced 10 feet apart. An ideal situation would be 6 feet down in the ground. And then we've got all these connectors we're going to connect it all up with. And that, spacing out the grounding and giving it that much contact, should help, or supposed to help, increase the voltage to the wire. Kellen's not from Arkansas, and we have a lot of rocks, and so this is a lot harder work than I think he was anticipating. So I better go over there and help him get the rest of these in, and then we'll hook it all up, do the test. So often it goes, we are running low on light, but we got enough. So everything's hooked up. All our grounding rods are hooked up with the clamps. We've got everything wired back in. Let's flip this baby on. Boop. Got the green light. Get a good test in. Where are we hitting at?
8,600 volts.
So what was it hitting at before?
Right at 7.
So it went up.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. 1,500 volts worth.
So before we fixed the grounding, we were hitting at like 7 something. Now we're hitting up above 8. So he said it basically went up 1,500 volts. Volts, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So I'm not sure I'm saying it because I mean in electrical stuff there's like ohms and
Oh yeah.
all that stuff. But okay, so I was right. 1,500 volts. So grounding is important. Setting it up properly is important. And honestly, I've learned so much. So we're done. I can't thank you enough for coming out here and just helping me. But also, I know our viewers are going to find value in a lot of the information. Guys, there's going to be more coming from Gallagher. You're going to see them at the Shindig coming up in like 5 weeks. They're going to be giving away a solar energizer, a nice one. So if you want to win a solar energizer for your farm, make sure you come to the Shindig. They're also going to be there meeting people, talking to people, teaching people. We're looking forward to it. Another thing that we're actually super excited about is we're going to be teaming up with Gallagher, and we're going to be hosting an electric fence class here at the farm towards the end of April.
Right.
All right, so we haven't set an exact date. I don't know exactly how many spots, but as soon as we decide that, we'll definitely put it out to you. But if any of you guys want to come and learn, I'm talking like intensive learning on how to set up electric fence properly, the grounding, all that stuff. I mean, they have so much knowledge. Like, we're going to host a class here at the end of April. So, Kellen, thank you, man. I look forward to hanging out with you at the Shindig. And guys, I bless you until next time.